Welcome back, Fly Tires. Tying up a fun one today. This is a bomber pattern. It's a cool dry fly. It's really like a skating fly in that salmon steelhead world. We're gonna downsize it a little bit today and make it a trout bug, a great dropper dry. So we'll go ahead and get the bomber tied up. And we got ourselves a nice finished fly here in the vise. Throw in a fresh hook, which is the Tiemco 100 SPBL. And I'm tying a size 12 today. The SP is the spear point, which hopefully you can see that nice sharp spear point on the SP version of the barbless, also BL 100. So this is a classic Tiemco hook with some really nice upgraded features to it. And then our tying thread that we're using is the UTC 70. So we'll go ahead and dress our shank with our thread here. And then we can prepare for our first material, as we usually do. So I'm gonna walk all the way back to the barb. Pretty traditional tying style on this fly. And so then we're gonna tie in our first material, which is a little bit of calf body hair. So it's very, very fine material, but an awesome one to use, used in parachute posts on your traditional parachute Adams. You can also substitute calf tail as well. It's going to be a little bit less fine. It's a very slick material too, so you always want to get this stuff tied in real nice and snug. And we're just going to keep somewhat of a small hank here and work it in right off of the back of that. It's a little bit long, so let me fix that. Pull out some of these longer ones. So we have a bit of a stubbier tail. And then make sure to tie it in the right length there. That looks pretty good. So I'll do a locking wrap on top, and then I like to sneak underneath this guy a couple times, and then back over top, and then I'm going to work back up towards about the midway point, covering up that material. And then I like to sneak underneath it, if I can get all of that up and out of the way, and then we can clip it off. Always some random fibers about, and then if we sneak back one wrap, then we can go over the top of it nice and clean and work straight up to the front, where we're gonna mirror that back end. We're gonna do the same thing up front that we did on the tail. Sort of an ambidextrous fly in that sense. Try and get about the same bundle, but this one we're gonna flip around, trying to keep those tips somewhat aligned. We don't need them to be too aligned. And then any of the longer ones you can just pull out of the bundle and sort of get to the right feathered amount that you want. Pull out some of that under fur that's just taking up space. And then we can tie that in on the front. And the reason I go to the halfway point is then I can match up and sort of even out my body with the front portion of the calf. So again, some locking wraps there, and then we'll pull it all back and get all of it, sneak in front and wrap a few wraps right behind that hook eye. I want the front section to be pointing upward a little bit more than the rear. And then again, I'm going to clip right where I ended in hopes that I get a nice, smooth, even body by covering up the remainder of this material, landing about that halfway point. I'll turn it back just a little bit more there. Not crucially important, but keep it neat if we can. And then we're gonna walk on back and we're gonna tie in our hackle first. I'm using some Cree hackle today. Some great whiting Cree hackle. Some of this stuff can be kind of hit or miss on our site. So if you're looking for a particular hackle that you want and you're not in too much of a rush to get it, you want just a quality hackle, give us a call. We're happy to reach out to Whiting and see what we can get for you. We're gonna do a good true to size hackle on this fly. So taking that feather, folding it over the hook shank, and right about to that barb or just past. So that's a pretty good sized hackle there. Brown is a great color on this. Natural brown grizzly is also a great option for this fly. And then you can play around a lot with color combinations in regards to the hair that you use, which we'll see here in a second. But all I'm gonna do with that hackle feather is go ahead and secure it right on the side of the hook shank there, and then tuck it into my material clip and keep it out of the way for now. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is tie in our hair, and this is the fun part, the messy part. I got my nice Primo strip of bleached elk hair here I'm gonna utilize for this, and we're gonna take quite a bit of hair. I'm gonna grab a good sized bundle, pretty close to a pencil diameter in thickness. And then we want to get all of that under fur out of there. So I'm going to take my dubbing brush and really clean it out good. Get everything up and out of there. It's going to help spin this hair if we can get it nice and clean. And I'm using the hairline dubbing brush for this, but the Loon under fur comb is really solid and pulls a lot of stuff out of there. Just don't happen to have one on me here today. And then what we're gonna do is clip it square on both ends. So I wanna be left with just a bundle of material here that's ready to tie in right on the back. Do one preparation wrap. I'm gonna go 2 loose wraps on it, and then I'm gonna do a third wrap around and down and pull and spin on it. And then we can do a couple of wraps through it to get it to rotate fully around. And then we can brush all of that hair rearward, sort of pack it against the back. Don't want to pack it too much right now or everything will slide right off of the back. And then we can sneak our thread in front of it. Trying not to trap anything. At this point, I do like to do a little bit of pre-trimming just because this section has that tail incorporated into it. So I am going to clip this stuff down a little ways, as well as the hackle. I just find it easier to get this stuff out of the way without trimming what I don't want to trim before I tie in too much more. So you can come in around the back, clip it out somewhat short here, and don't get crazy at this point. You can leave it still long a little ways, but just trying to get all of that hair down out of the way of the tail. And I highly also recommend these Dr. Slick hair scissors, the extra long blade that these have on them are super amazing. It's these razor scissors are just bomber for me. So again, just some fine work here, sort of trimming things down a bit out of the way. And that is going to be the thinnest portion of this fly overall. But again, don't get too crazy. I feel like I've trimmed too much already. And I'm still going. So let's stop ourselves. One more. And tie in the next bundle. So now we're just going to repeat that process forward, and you can do a little bit more as you go. When you're in the center shank of the hook, you can really fit a lot of material in. So same process, bundle of hair, clean it out real good. And I do like to trim it down because then you get a sort of an even fly as you get going, and then it can be a bit easier to trim. So same thing, couple of quick wraps, And then as we go on our third wrap and we bite into it, I'm really gonna spin that hair into place. And now on this bundle, I'm gonna dress it all back and really pack it in. I always support the rear of the hook as I do this, so I'll pinch it here and then I'll push that hair into my other fingers. That way I don't loosen up anything that I don't want to, but get it nice and tight there. So from there we continue that process up to right behind where that front wing of calf is. I think at this point I can probably get one more pretty healthy chunk in, and that should take us fairly close to the front of this fly. I'm just gonna force everything back a little bit, give myself a little bit of room there. All right, now we go to trimming. So as I trim this fly, what I like to do is really use my rotary, and if you don't have a rotary, just be very cautious of where your thread's at as you go around, because it can be easy to trim it. But if you're using rotary and you come in from the top, I like to angle my scissors just downward slightly on the fly and then give it nice big sweeping trims as I go around. And so I'll trim and rotate, trim and rotate, and work my way around the fly. Probably a couple, 3 times to get it all shaped out correctly. We're gonna shape it in maybe more of a cone shape. So trimming it back from the front, and then on the front end, trimming it sort of upward. Always start slow, take away less than what you think, because you can always come back and cut more. But at this point, you put a lot of energy into this fly. You don't want to have to start over. And now we're gonna bring our hackle forward. So fun part of this fly is pulling this hackle forward and just biting into that material as we go. Creates really cool segmentation and also assists in the buoyancy of this fly. These chicken feathers are nice and buoyant. We'll go right up to behind that front wing where our thread is. Capture that and cut out our excess. If you can at this point, sometimes I like to sneak under the calf hair to do my whip finish. There are times when I don't have room and I'll finish just straight over top, but I like that it gives it a little bit more of a front end wing on there and also tucks away these thread wraps nicely. So we'll sneak 3 of those in and then clip out our excess. So just a great dry fly, a nice buoyant dry fly, a fun one to fish, a fun one to tie, a little messy to tie, takes a little bit of time, but very enjoyable at the same time. So we'll call this kind of the mini bomber, because the bomber typically can be a nice big salmon steelhead fly, like I was saying, and this is more sized for trout, and really great in a dry dropper situation. This will hold up even your heavier of dropper flies. So fun one to tie. Give it a shot. Let us know what you think. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more, and tune in next week for more AvidMax fly tying tutorials. Thanks so much.